I've had a few requests for how to remove the dash, mainly this center section here, seen here, to get access to either the cluster or to do the boost gauge install if you so decide to do that. So today, that's what we're going to tackle. We'll start on the driver's side. First thing we need to do is pull this side cover off. You're going to do that by going ahead and removing this rubber molding. Pull it back, and then pull down your fuse cover. Take your hand, reach inside, and you'll feel the cover. You can see it moving, somewhat, but you'll feel the cover. Push hard, just like that, and get underneath it. Pull it out. Now obviously your pry tool works perfectly fine. Usually I do this two-handed, not one-handed, so that's of great help. Next thing we're going to do is remove this screw and this screw. And you can see I'm missing one screw, just don't judge me. But we're going to remove this screw and this screw, then come over here, pull down this little plastic thing, and there's a screw underneath there. So I'll remove the 3 screws and then we'll come back. Now that I've got the 3 screws removed, you're going to want to go up here in this corner, pull out. We're trying to get above this, so you're going to pull it this way towards the door and pull down. You can see that pops off. The next spot is over here. Pull that. There you go. They can be kind of finicky. And then come over to this side. Again, we're still on the top. And pull straight out. Now when you put this back in, these bottom tabs, when you put this back in, they go in that hole and that hole. So when you put this back in, put these in there first, just set them in there a little bit, and then tilt up and push that up there, like so. Now it's going to be a little finicky for you to get this to be smooth when you put this back on. Start with this one up in, and then try to pull this panel up a little bit while clipping that, and it'll eventually work its way around. But now that we've got that side off, we can go ahead and you'll see this little lip, if my camera would focus, that little lip right there won't come out unless you have this whole, they call it like a knee pad rest or something like that, but you need that in order to get this off on the other side. So we'll switch to the other side and do the rest. On this side, you'll have to excuse the mess. I do a lot of miscellaneous wiring experiments and stuff, so it's kind of pointless to put it all back if I'm just going to remove it again. But on this side, we're going to go ahead, we're going to open up our glove compartment like so that we can get access to this lip right here. You'll see it's the same thing as that other side. So you're going to remove the door seal a little bit. Now be careful with this door seal because it has a steel, kind of like a gasket making, that squeezes onto this lip. If you pull too hard and pinch the crap out of it, it don't like to go back very well. So reach this little lip and pull out. Drop it on the floor. You're good to go. There you go. That one's easy to put back in. So is the other side. Now you're going to want to go ahead and remove this little screw right here on the top. Remove that screw. You do not need to remove this screw. We're on this one only. So I'll remove that and I'll bring you back. Alright, screws off. Once again, get behind the little lip and pull forward so you can get above the little clip thing that we've got built in. And then you're going to work your hand down here with your thumb up on here. Just work your way down, nice and gentle. Now this particular piece is sort of a pain to put back on because of the way that you have to kind of form it around this lip. You've kind of got to work it up and in while you work your way around, but go ahead and pull the clip down. It comes off very easy. If you have to pull super hard, you're probably doing it wrong or you're in the wrong spot. So, go to your right and left and figure out which direction you need to go to get it to pop off. It pops off pretty easily. The next thing you're going to do is remove that screw. Follow it along. There's, let's see, one there, and one there. So remove those screws, and then I'll bring you back. Now that we've got all those screws out, we're going to stay over here on this passenger side again. This little finger portion is very thin between here and here. Much like the center console, if you try to pull here, you're going to get into trouble. And I think this is $400 or $500 to replace. So don't be an idiot. Don't pull over here. We're going to go right over here, right to where it says airbag. Not that my camera will show you. And then pull out just a little bit. And it'll pop. Now, again, take your time. Go back and forth. And it really does just kind of pop out all the way along. Now, mine might be ever so slightly easier because I've had this dash apart about 35 times. So, work it from this side to this side. Just pop, move over about 4 or 5 inches, pop. Just keep working your way across. And then eventually, you'll get to the last little clip, and it'll come out. Now, over here, this little wire harness is your push button start. You're going to want to go ahead and unplug that. I've done it, again, several times without disconnecting the battery, and I've had no issues. Just go ahead and unplug it. There's a little push tab right there. Let's see. A little push tab on the top. Just go ahead and unplug it. I have the boost gauge in here, so I can't really just rip my whole dash out right now. But that is how you get the dash out. Now, when you go to put this back in, you're going to do the exact opposite. And I mean that in a more literal sense. Like if you pop the right side off first and then the left side, you're going to do the left side first and then pop in the right side. You're not going to, there's no put this in first when you put it back. You're going to have to start in the same exact spot you did before. So put it up. You're going to put it in there. It's going to be on kind of like a slight angle. This is a little extreme, but put it in there because you're kind of wrapping around a curve. So you're going to put this corner in first, make sure everything aligns, and pop it in. If it doesn't pop in easy with a slight, fist bump, then it's probably wrong. It is very easy to take these tabs and bend them over. Sometimes if you accidentally bend one over, you can bend it straight and it'll work again. Do not rely on that for anything. So be very careful. Remember to plug your push start in, put it up in there in the corner, pop it in, and then work your way across. This goes in pretty easy. It's that black trim that's going to be fun for you, just because it's kind of hard to mold around this corner. But like I'm saying, put it in on this side, and then when you get here, it's kind of got to be higher than what you'd expect. We're talking 16th inch, maybe an 1/8 inch, slightly higher, and then kind of push down and in at the same time, and it'll pop in. If it doesn't pop in super easy, or at least moderately easy, it's probably in the wrong spot. Don't force it. None of this crap was designed to be like brute forced in, so don't get into the habit of brute forcing it. If you're brute forcing it and nothing's happening, you're probably doing it wrong, and it's just going to lead to trouble. So if you're doing the screen install, right here and right here are your 2 screws. Now, I bought a couple of screens during my testing to try to get the lower unit. Anybody that refers to it as an audio unit or AVN or whatever, this is literally the brain for that screen. This unit right here is. So this unit has all of the controls for a lot of things. There's actually some car controls in here, memory. There's a lot of interfacing that happens in this unit. This is what had to be swapped. You need one that says SD map on the front that is audio video navigation capable. You need that one in order to work with the beautiful screen. If you have the fugly screen, you're going to have the crappy unit that it came with. But if you switch, like we've talked about, the nice screen for the crappy screen, or the crappy screen for the nice screen, and you don't have this, it will come on and it'll look cool, but you'll have no touch screen, so it's more or less worthless. But either or, when you do this, out of all the screens I bought, there's a mark. I think it's on one of these sides in the back, somewhere like here-ish. Little scrape marks, and I had it on both screens from different sellers where they have been trying to pull this unit out. Once you remove these 2 screws, which are extremely tight, so I'll warn you now, make sure you have a Phillips bit that fits those tight. Not all Phillips are this size, for whoever is not aware. So, like this one, for instance, is kind of your run-of-the-mill, I think, a number 2. And you can see in this screw, it fits tight, really no wiggle. However, these screws here are slightly bigger. So make sure whatever bit you're using to remove those screws are very tight. I had to use a ratchet and one of the Phillips bits inside of a socket so that I could push hard into the screw and turn it at the same time. You strip that off, you're kind of going to be screwed-ish, because you'll probably have to drill the head off and then pull the stud section of it off, which is just going to be a big pain. So get the right Phillips bit, remove that, and then this screen assembly pulls straight up. Again, I've seen Primark, so I'm assuming it's quite hard to get out. I ended up pulling this whole trim out, which was my mistake because there's some clips behind the radio, and needless to say, it didn't just come out. But pull those two screws out, pull the screen up, unplug the connectors, and then there's a screw here, 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 and here to get this cowl off. And behind this screen, I think there's maybe two or five. I know that's kind of random, but there's a couple of big screws behind this that actually clip this whole assembly into that you will have to remove. Otherwise, you can pull as hard as you want. This won't come anywhere unless you take it out in pieces. So you'll have to do that. Once that's done, you're good to go. Then you'll have to put this back in first, then put your screen in with the connectors attached, and then go on from there. Now, if you're doing the instrument cluster removal, again, you'll have to take this out. However, on the driver's side, you'll also have to take out this venting shroud stuff. There's a screw on the side, and then it just kind of pops out like the dash does. Then there's some screws on that side for the instrument cluster. There's a screw here. There's one right there behind that hole, which is a pain to get to. And then you can take that beauty ring off, this thing. That comes out, and then there's, I think, 2 screws up top, 2 screws on the bottom. Pull the whole cluster out, unplug your wire, plug your new cluster in, or whatever you plan on doing. Then put the cluster back in, 2 bolts, make sure you have the cluster plugged in, and then you would just reverse this process. But I wanted to give some tips and tricks for those that had asked about it for removing the dash. I know there's another video out there that shows the guy removing the dash, but he doesn't really go into details on what he'd recommend, where to pull, where to push. The hardest thing I think most people are going to have trouble with is when they put this back together, they're going to have to put that black plastic piece in there. So when you do that, like this for instance, if you put this in, work your way around, and it clips in like that, and then like I said, left to right, then this thing goes behind that. Be careful not to snap that off. Now you can see there's a gap there. That gap is not filled until you put that screw back in to hold it up. So ignore that for now. And I'll actually show you how to put that back in. Check this before you move on. If there's a big gap here and there's a big gap here, you done messed up. So we'll grab our flimsy trim piece here. Start on the left side, driver's side. You're going to put your clip. Now, I'm doing this one-handed, so no tripod. Line up your 2 clips in their holes. Start that one. Start the second one. Now, this is where it gets tricky. This right here, you can see I'm actually slightly above the buttons. So I'm not below it. Start slightly above it and push in. And then this part went in. This part did not. However, we are now below the buttons. Again, I'm going to pull it up a little bit. Like so. Push it in, push it in. Now we're middle. So, up again. So we're catching on that clip right there. So, change the angle a little bit. There it goes. Now, I've got that whole thing in. Now here, we're, again, changing angles. You can see this plastic doesn't just want to go up there. So, with a little twist backwards, go up and push in. Like that, that. Over here, make sure your clip's behind the screw. Put your screw back in. Now, obviously, for this example, I just wanted to show you guys how to put that pain in the ass trim piece back in, because I have a feeling some people might have a little issue with it. But take your time. Again, rule of thumb on this one. If it's really hard to get back in, it's probably wrong. So If it's wrong, take a step back. If you get frustrated, take a step back. None of these parts are super cheap. None of these parts are really available in a quick amount of time. So just take your time. If you have to pull super hard, harder than, pulling a guy up from the ground, like if you pick a friend up, you got some problems going on. So just take your time with it. And that's how you get the dash out.